Marjorie Taylor Greene demolishes Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's claim that the crisis at our southern border is racist. In this video, we're going to take a look at AOC's latest rant, how Marjorie Taylor Greene utterly leveled her in a single tweet, and how Greene's response perfectly destroyed the fallacy that pervades AOC's and the Democrats' entire worldview. You're not going to want to miss this. Greetings, everyone. Dr. Steve here with you. Wonderful to be with you. As always, we're here to give you each and every single day conservative hope in the midst of these turbulent and trying times, helping to think better so you can feel better and provide for you a patriot path to freedom. So if you haven't already done so, you know what to do. Make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. Another reason you should subscribe, we got some exciting news coming your way on Monday. You're going to absolutely love it, so make sure to check back with us early next week for a big announcement that's coming. I'm going to whet your appetite for it, but I promise you're going to love it. Before we begin, let's give a huge shout out to the sponsor of this video, and that's our good friends over at BioTrust and their awesome immune system supporting product, Ageless Body. With our rapid advances in science over the years, there are much more powerful and effective ways to boost our immune systems than just taking mega doses of vitamin C. In fact, our sponsors over at BioTrust have combined 4 of the world's best immune-supporting powerhouses, along with that mega dose of vitamin C, into their #1 immunity support product, Ageless Body. Simply put, Ageless Body provides you 5 of the most powerful immune support ingredients available, including their #1 immunity support recommendation, turmeric, which is a 46 times better absorption than most other forms. And most of all, if you click on that link below today, you're going to get Ageless Body at their lowest price ever, 51% off with free US shipping to boot. Do not wait. Click on that link or go to my special website, agewithsteveturley.com. All right, gang, we got a little drama unfolding here. I think it provides for us a fascinating window into the new politics of the Trump era. Firebrand patriot Marjorie Taylor Greene eviscerated Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez the other day for a pathetic attempt at gaslighting her rank hypocrisy on the southern border. Let me give you a bit of backstory on what's going on here. So I'm sure you all remember how much airtime AOC got the last time she visited the border during the Trump administration to raise awareness to the supposedly horrid conditions. Of course, you remember the completely spontaneous reaction near a chain-linked fence that she claims was on the southern border as she wept, bent over in anguish, hands covering her face. Of course, the only thing that was missing was the children. There were no actual children in any of the photos. As a matter of fact, take any angle you want, there were no children to be found anywhere, just more or less an empty parking lot. You know, to this day, the ultra-left website PolitiFact actually stands by their assertion that those photos of AOC are genuine. That she's emphatically not standing in front of an empty parking lot like a lot of people claimed. They said, no, it was a road. It was a road with a handful of parked vehicles on the road. So all of you say that this was a staged photo are false. So obviously, it all seems rather strange regardless that AOC has yet to go back to the border and have another, photo there because we have now the same sort of situation, don't we? By the way, she's not alone. Rachel Maddow also dedicated hours and oceans of tears reporting on the horrific conditions that children were experiencing at the southern border because of that horrific Neanderthal in office named Donald Trump. By the way, Maddow somehow has learned to come to terms with such horrors during the Biden administration. Is that neat? She's got nothing to say about it anymore now, so she's making progress. That's good for her, right? So obviously AOC was going to have to at some point address the sudden silence in the face of such horrendous border crises. Obviously, she looked like a blatant hypocrite. Well, so she did. AOC finally addressed the border crisis the other day. She took to Instagram Live in one of her Ask Me Anything sessions, and she answered the question from one of the people, why are you not addressing the border crisis and the kids in cages like you used to? Are you for real? Seems like a fair enough question. So AOC responded. Well, sort of. AOC said, and I kid you not, 1, that the border crisis is not a border crisis. It's all kinds of other crises, but it's not a border crisis, okay? And 2, referring to the rise in border crossings over the past few months as a surge or an invasion, is, yes, if you can believe it, it smacks of white supremacy. So here's what she said, quote, "So much of our national conversation, which is not a conversation." Yes, she said that. Okay, so much of our national conversation, which is not a conversation about immigration, is driven by people who could not care less about immigrants. So often people want to say, why aren't you talking about the border crisis? Or why aren't you talking about it in this way? Well, we are talking about it. They just don't like how we're talking about it. It's not a border crisis. It's an imperialism crisis. It's an imperialism crisis. It's a climate crisis. It's a trade crisis. And it's also a carceral crisis. So according to AOC, whatever you do, don't you dare call this a border crisis. It's quite literally every other crisis imaginable, some even unimaginable. It's an imperialism crisis. It's a climate crisis. It's a trade crisis. It's a carceral crisis. It's a racism crisis. It's a child crisis. It's a family crisis. It's a linguistic crisis. It's a political crisis. It's a courage crisis. But for heaven's sake, it is emphatically not a border crisis. How in the name of all that's holy, just, and good can you call tens of thousands of people outside of our borders illegally crossing the U.S.-Mexico border and being detained at the border by border control at numbers far exceeding what border facilities can house as a freaking border crisis? What the hell is possessing you? She went on to say, anyone who's using the word surge around you, like she just did, interestingly, but I guess she gets a pass on this, right? Rules for thee, not for me. Anyone who's using the word surge around you, except for me, consciously is trying to invoke a militaristic frame. And that's a problem, because this is not a surge. These are children. They're not insurgents. And we are not being invaded, which, by the way, is a white supremacist idea, philosophy, the idea that if an other is coming in the population, that this is an invasion of who we are. Now, I'm sorry, seriously, I'm sorry, but this is some of the most absurd, incoherent ranting that I've encountered in some time. That's saying something. It is so self-defeating. It's so self-contradictory. Does AOC not see others, namely white supremacists, as a threat to who, quote, we are? Why does AOC get to invoke an us versus them rhetoric with impunity while no one else can without being called names? Remember, how she started, we're having a national conversation that's not really a conversation, right? Because some of them out there, you know, those people don't really care about immigrants or immigration. Those bad people out there, they want us to talk about immigration. We are talking about, but they don't like how we are talking about it. Did you notice what she's doing here? Well, you know who does? And apparently the only one with guts in Congress to come out and say it? Marjorie Taylor Greene. She came out and turned AOC's wokeism right back on her. Now, before we get into that, I do have a free gift for you. Make sure to click on the link below and download your very own fake news antidote. We've updated our compilation of over 30 alternative news sites I go to for my news each and every single day. They are all conservative. They all celebrate Trump and the nationalist populist revolt that's going on all over the world. And boy, do we need these news resources now more than ever. You can download your own copy of our updated fake news antidote completely free at the link down below in the pinned comment section. And you're going to have a ready list of your go-to sites that you'll definitely enjoy and are going to inspire you through these trying times. And it's yours absolutely free by clicking on the link below. It is my gift to you. All right. The new Georgia Congresswoman, Marjorie Taylor Greene, is totally Trumpified. Okay? She is the Congresswoman who is in office dedicated to fighting for us. And she's amazing. Look at how she responded to AOC. Look at this. AOC is lying and being a racist, blaming white supremacists. If she cared about children of all races, then she would be down at the border crying about the very real surge of children being trafficked in our country and stuffed in cages due to the policies she loves. Wow. AOC, you're lying. And you're a racist blaming white supremacy. AOC, you're the reason all of this is happening. You! Your love affair with open borders has consequences. Your insistence that all illegal immigrants are victims who should be granted amnesty immediately has consequences. You're doing this. The policies that you and the political class advocate, opening the door wide open for anyone coming in here and getting citizenship, no one need apply. You're doing it. How dare you blame us? How dare you blame us for this? Again, are you getting how Marjorie Taylor Greene is calling her out on this? You see, AOC's entire life, her total worldview, is utterly obsessed with what scholars call resentment politics. And historically speaking, we're talking going all the way back to ancient Athens here. Historically speaking, the political class tended to foster an internal unity among the people and their rulers by creating the specter of a hostile external enemy. And this is because external threats tend to breed internal solidarity. So resentment was focused out there. But then in the 1960s, here in the States, instead of focusing on an external enemy to breed solidarity, politicians started focusing instead on internal enemies. Our political class found that they could benefit even more if they divided our population by focusing on an enemy from within. So the Democrats have been masters at turning what were once considered external threats like illegal immigrants now into victims, while at the same time they've demonized their political opponents internally as white supremacists and deplorables and racists and bigots. And did you notice what Marjorie Taylor Greene did in her response to AOC? She turned AOC's resentment politics in on itself. She made the political class that AOC represents, the policies that she advocates, the real object and legitimate object of resentment. It's not the people, AOC, that's the problem. It's you. It's the permanent political class. You are the problem. The days of you blaming us, the people, for what's wrong with our nation is over. Now it's time for the people to rise up and blame you. Now, before you go, make sure to like this video, comment down below, subscribe to my channel. Also, click on the link below and check out some of our awesome merch. And definitely want to check out my latest video I just uploaded on how Nancy Pelosi's power grab backfires as her effort to steal a GOP House seat blows up in her face. You're not going to want to miss it. So make sure to click on the link, and I'll see you over there. God bless.